January 2024, I feel like it's a really good opportunity and time to look back on the previous year and discuss some of the games that actually finally released. We're going to be talking about the top 10 games of the last year, and of course that is before looking forward at 2024 to see about the top 10 most anticipated games that will come in another video. 2023 was a huge year. There were many games that had been hyped for many years that finally got to saw a release date. But which one of them is the very best? Well, I did do a game of the year video. This is going to be a little bit different. We're not actually going to go in, from 1 to 10 in any particular order. I feel like there are 3 to 5 very obvious choices for those top 5 slots. It gets a little bit more interesting when you start going down the list and talking about games that maybe deserve a shout out, maybe even some recognition, and hopefully some love going into the years to follow. So join me in this video, and of course guys, if there is a game that you spent a redonkulous amount of time on last year that you feel like needs to make this list, let us know down in the comments. And don't forget, we do actually have an active and growing Discord as well. So if you want to be a part of that community, you can find the link down in the description of the video. Now, the first video on this list is Boulders Gate 3, but before we talk about my thoughts and feelings on this game, let's talk about the facts. Now, this is a game that was developed by Larian Studios. They're the same people that actually went out and made Original Sin 2, 1 and 2, Divinity Original Sin. It is a turn-based fantasy RPG. That's exactly what the previous games were as well. And Boulders Gate 3 was a game that quite frankly blew us away. Now, it's available today on the Xbox, the PlayStation and PC, and it is a game that essentially was part of a genre of games that have been releasing for many years now. All of these games have been building up in popularity for many years, but I feel like Boulders Gate 3 really heightened and took that genre to a brand new level. Now, we could talk about the fact that this game actually won Game of the Year at the Game of the Year award ceremony. Not only did it win it there, but it also won it here on the Critically Clueless as well. Not only did it win several awards there, this game is a game that has sold between 10 and 20 million copies on Steam alone. Boulders Gate 3 is truly a turn-based combat, turn-based RPG system that blew us away. It's probably the first of its kind to be classed as a AAA rated game, and me personally, I want to see more of it moving forward. If anyone hasn't tried it, it's a game that I would highly recommend. If you are playing single player, if you want a game to play with your friends, you can play this split screen, you can play this co-op. You're talking about a game that takes on average 150 hours to play, and quite frankly very possibly makes my top 10 games of all time. So if you ask me, this is definitely one to not miss out on. The next game on the list that I want to talk about is actually Wartals. Now, this is a little known game. It's a bit of an indie game. It also featured on my top game of the years of last year. This is a survival game, and it was developed by Shiro Games. The general idea of it is that you take on the role of a band of mercenaries, and you have to survive through this world, whether that is scavenging food, managing your money, managing resources, armor, weapons, trying to earn your trade in an absolutely war-torn continent. It is a lot of fun. There is permadeath. It's very hard. It is turn-based combat mixed in with this management and survival elements all boned in. It's a really fun game, and one that I really do think that went under the radar. It's not necessarily the most biggest game, the most glitziest game, but it is definitely one that I would highly recommend to anyone that hasn't played it. This is a game that I personally originally kind of didn't even give it a second look. It was only because of the community within the Discord and friends that I personally know that said, hey Monk, you really need to check this game out. It deserves to have a shout out on your channel. That's what I done, and I did not regret playing it. It's one that I believe I'm going to be picking up and playing for many years to come. A little bit here, a little bit there. It's one that I just can't seem to put down. And it's available on the Xbox, the PlayStation, the Switch, and the PC. It also got a 92% positive reaction on Steam, which is absolutely phenomenal. Next up, let's talk about Bethesda's next big game, the first brand new IP in absolute years. That is, of course, Starfield. Now, Starfield was often described as Skyrim in space, and if you ask me, that's kind of all I needed to know about this game to know that I actually wanted to play it. Now, apart from being slightly disappointed, Starfield is a phenomenal game. It's a huge game, and it's one that I feel that we're going to be playing and resold, of course, for many years to come. It's also the 11th most modded game in history, which, if nothing else, shows that people want to play it. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely, but it's definitely a game that I think many people were excited about for a very, very long time, and it's really great to see that it's finally here. The fourth game on our list is Final Fantasy 16. Now, this is, of course, a game that was developed by Square Enix. It is the 16th installment to the long-awaited Final Fantasy franchise, and it's the very first Final Fantasy that really truly dove into the action RPG side of things. It's fully moved away from turn-based combat now and is fully an action RPG. Now, I did review this on a channel. It is not necessarily something that I was expecting, but you know what? I did enjoy what I played. It's a very beautiful game. The cutscenes are amazing, and of course, it won Best Score and Music at the Game Awards. I mean, if anyone's ever played a Final Fantasy game before, they should probably not be surprised that it got an award for the music featured within the game. Again, if you are a Final Fantasy fan, I think new or old, this could be a game that you can get into, and it's one that you should definitely check out. Number 5 on the list, and possibly the last big boy on our list, is Hogwarts Legacy. Now, Hogwarts Legacy is a game that many of us wanted for very, very many years. It was delayed, and it was a game that was brought out right at the beginning of 2023. And do you know what? Honestly, it is a good game. It is kind of tries to be an open world RPG with many different mechanics. You, of course, are set in Hogwarts. There's different areas that you can go to, the Forbidden Woods, for instance, Forbidden Forest, and of course Hogsmeade, and many other little places. For me, the action was just a little bit too repetitive, but that does not mean that it wasn't a good game. It happens to be the highest selling game of 2023, which is kind of just absolutely insane, but also kind of makes sense because it did have probably the most amount of time to accumulate those sales. This is also one of the most played games in Steam history. So it's no surprise that it made this list. It really is one of the most anticipated games of all time, and you know what, it didn't really disappoint. There are features that personally, as a fan, I wanted to see in the game, and hopefully, you know, with DLC, with time, we will see more very soon from this. Number 6 on our list was a personal favorite. Not only was it a personal favorite of mine, many of my friends and my partner also played this game. It was one that you can really, you know, get into the community spirit and of course play on your own as well, and that is Valheim. Valheim is a game that took me by storm. I was not expecting what I got. It is a survival game, a true survival game with many different mechanics for you as you go through. There was building mechanics, survival mechanics. In other words, you had to eat certain things. It had a unique twist for how you would get your buffs and get your health and stuff like that. Gone were the days of you leveling up and just putting points into health. No, 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 no. You had to become a connoisseur of that game and find the right food and the right combinations to give you the best buffs you could possibly find. It's a really, really interesting game. It's a cheap game. It is only $19.99, believe it or not, and it's on the Steam and of course on Xbox as well. It also happens to be a game that got 10 out of 10 in over 373,000 reviews on Steam. And if that doesn't say something, I don't know what does. It again is one of the most highly played games on Steam in history too. So as you can see, last year 2023 really had some absolute bouters, but had some games that really truly went under the radar as well. I think Valheim and Wartals are two of those games that just needed to have a little bit more of a shout out. Hopefully now that they are, I would say they are getting a lot more popular, these kind of indie games, given a bit more time, you know, for gamers, that we should see more of them moving forward and perhaps even having a little bit of a bigger budget as well. Number 7 on this list is Ark Survival Ascended. Now, I kind of say that through gritted teeth because it is a game that I personally both love and hate. It's a game that I have already spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in. I've played on official PvP, I've played on Deddy servers, I've played solo. It's a game that you can play with friends or completely on your own, and I would say it's also a game of all ages. Ark ultimately is possibly the best survival game in history. There are so many different mechanics, so many different things for you to get your head around, that it can take an awfully long time to learn the game. Now, is Ark Survival Ascended a golden game? Is it one with no bugs, no problems, and has a very nice, clean history? No. No, the game is not at all. There are so many bugs, so many problems. The devs change their mind every 5 seconds. But on top of all of that, even with all of the problems that this game has, ultimately it is a very good game, and one I would recommend people try to grab if they see it on sale at some stage. Right now it's £37-ish here in the UK, but it's definitely a game that is full of problems. So if you want to play it for what it says on the tin, wait for it to be on sale, have a go once it's had a lot of TLC. If you just want a brand new survival game to play and you don't care that it has problems, because in this day and age all games have problems, then go out, have a go, and let me know what you think of the game down in the comments. The next game to make our list is actually Anno 1800. Now this makes our list because it hit console this year. It is a really interesting game that was made by Ubisoft Blue Byte. It is essentially a city simulator game. It is a city management game in which you get to build your city and manage different projects. Now there is a lot to this game. It is a huge game. It is like a 4x strategy game. It is that deep, and it's one that will take you a very long time to master. But I played it for a short time this year and I absolutely loved what I played. It's a game that I wish that I spent more time in during last year. Hopefully here in 2024 I can find some time to dedicate maybe some videos on the channel, because it is one that I would very much like to jump back into. I think I've played a lot of these games, Tropical 6 being one of these, you know, genre of games, and Anno 1800 for me was the smoothest one that I've played in a very, very long time. Number 9 on the list is Forza Motorsport 8. This is a game that I didn't actually review on the channel, however, I did play. It was on Game Pass. I love myself a bit of a racing game, and it is one that we were waiting for quite a while. I believe this game did get delayed, so it's really good to see it out in 2023, and it's also a game that picked up not one but 2 awards at the Game Awards, it being the best sports / racing game of the year. The level of detail in this game is kind of mind-blowing. If you are into cars, if you're into racing, the circuits, the cars, everything is above board. It's everything that you would expect, and it sounds amazing. Like the sounds of these vehicles, the sound of the engine is quite frankly amazing, and it's one that I spent nowhere near enough time in. Again, it is on Game Pass, it's on Xbox and PC, and it is a AAA rated game, meaning it does have that heftier price tag. But if you are into racing games, personally I'm not massively a fan of the Horizon series, but the Motorsport series in particular is one that I really liked. Just the ability to be able to make a career as a racer and, you know, just see yourself progress. The simulation side of this game is really good, and it's a really well crafted game, and it's one that I'm glad to see, you know, here on our on the Game Pass, and one I think that many people will enjoy. I think there needs to be more racing games. I don't know what it is about racing games, but it doesn't seem to be something that's very popular these days. Back in my day, when I used to play so many different racing games, we had so much to choose from. Whether it was Midnight, whether it was Need for Speed, there was just so many different types of racing franchise games, and all of them seems to have disappeared in time, unfortunately. I know Need for Speed is still going, but I really do wish there was more of them. So I'm glad to see Motorsport doing well, and you know, winning some awards as well, and hopefully, you never know, there may be more of them around the corner. Number 10 on our list. This is the last one on our list. Number 10 is a game that is classed as a commercial failure. Number 10 is a game that, in my opinion, gets nowhere near enough love. It's a game that was published by 2K, and it is a turn-based tactical RPG. There is so much dialogue, so much information in a world that has millions upon millions of fans, especially here in 2024. I can't really work out why it was such a failure. I feel like it's a game that just never really got the advertisement that perhaps it should have, especially considering the genre and that it covers. And of course, guys, I'm talking about Marvel Midnight Suns. It is a turn-based RPG. It has so many different interesting mechanics. It's kind of like a card builder mechanics as well, and it really does take a format that is everyone knows very well and changed it slightly to make it a unique experience. I feel like what sets Midnight Suns apart from other turn-based combat games, this was fully voice acted, and there really are not too many of them around. People tend to dull down the amount of voice acting in their games because of just how expensive it is, and I fully understand that they've got their costs and their overheads to think about, but Midnight Suns go overboard on the amount of information and the amount of dialogue that you can kind of do. There is like a home that you get to kind of explore and talk to the different companions that you get to recruit, and you can spend an awful lot of time in there as well. Again, I hear so many people talking about this game. It's again one that I didn't even necessarily give too much of a thought at first. It was the community over on Discord, and again friends, that messaged me and said, hey, you need to play this game. let me know what you think. And it's one that I'm really glad that I did pick up, because I love the superhero franchise. I really love playing as all of those different Marvel characters, bringing together players like Blade, like Ghost Rider. These are characters you don't necessarily see in mainstream too much, and you get to play as them here on this game, in a genre that we happen to love here on the Critically Clueless. So it's one that I would highly recommend for anyone that has not played this game so far. It's also almost always on sale. It's a game that was on sale from almost launch, oddly enough. So if you're looking for a cheap game to have a little go at and spend lots of hours inside, then yeah, Marvel's Midnight Suns could well be the game for you. But guys, that is the end of this video. If you've enjoyed what you watched, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, if a game didn't quite make it onto my list that you think should have been there on your list, let me know down in the comments what game should have made the top 10 games of 2023. But I've been a Monk, we've been Critically Clueless. Until next time, happy gaming.